Hello, this is David Lucas, your learning engineer. We're looking at Module 8. My, how the time is flying. It always goes that way in a quarter system. Equity and the disabled is the theme for this particular module, and I hope that as you look at these readings that you have assigned, Chapter 17, that you'll learn a lot about treating people with equality. We've talked a lot about this already, and so some of this will not be new to you, but I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about, for example, if you come upon a person who has visual disabilities, if they're not able to see well, or if indeed the person is blind, always identify yourself as you approach a person who's blind. They may hear you coming, but they don't know who you are, and if this is a new person to you, introduce yourself. You take the advantage. You take the advantage to introduce yourself to a person that's blind. It is appropriate in this, unless they say not to touch the person's arm lightly as you speak to them, so they kind of know where you are in reference to where you're talking from. They'll hear your voice and generally can identify the general proximity of where you are. But by touching them, you're giving them a little extra help to know exactly where you're standing. Always face the person that you're talking to. I know this seems odd, but a person that's blind can tell if you're facing them or not. They're able to tell by the tone and by the volume of the voice, and they can also feel the sound waves bouncing off their skin. And use a normal tone of voice. Don't yell at them. This, as we've sort of talked about in the past, this becomes something that's very odd about those of us who don't necessarily work with many disabilities. Our voice gets louder as if everyone can't hear or they can't understand English. Just speak in a normal tone to this person. Don't ever leave the person that's blind without saying that you're leaving. I was reminded about how that we speak Spanish, and one of the common ways of saying goodbye in Spanish is nos vemos. We'll be seeing you, and that means I'm leaving now. Me voy literally means I'm leaving myself. I'm leaving. And so don't forget to say me voy, maybe in English, to the person that's blind. I'm leaving now, and thank you for the conversation. They know you're walking off. If you're offering directions to a person that's blind, give them clock directions. 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It gives them a way to figure out the patterns of where things are, the door, the window, the chair. Give them clock directions. If you are near or next to a person who's blind or visually impaired, give them some information. If there's something posted on the wall or on the bulletin board, read it out loud to them, because of course they're not going to be able to see it. Most of this is not printed in Braille, and if they're Braille reading, they still couldn't get the information. So maybe if there's a person in your office or in your organization, you can read posted messages for them. Never, under any circumstances, if the person has a service dog or a service pet, don't ever distract the pet. I know we have a tendency to love on these dogs, and sometimes people that are blind or other disabilities will say it's okay for you to pet their dog or their service pet, a service animal, but don't do it unless, of course, they encourage you to do it. And finally, if you're going to offer assistance, it's okay to do that lightly and politely, but don't insist. Don't force yourself on other people. Take them across the street, shove a chair in front of them. They know what they need, and as we've talked about in self-advocacy and in the module on advocacy, they know how to ask for what they need, and they've learned how to figure out how to get by, so don't force yourself on them. We're going to be talking a lot about equity and how to treat people with equal rights and dignity, and I hope that you'll enjoy this module on equity and those with disabilities.